Na 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 na, na 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 na, na na na, gonna take my time. Do dee dee dee, do da da, ba da do ba 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 da 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 da. Did it on that, do da da da, da 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 da.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tim Untethered. I am Tim, and I'm untethered. How are you? We left home about 3 weeks ago, May 29th to be exact, from our home in Southern Oregon, to set out on this epic road trip that I've been planning for about I've been working on the van for about 2 years, so whatever that means, right? So this video is to get everybody caught up on what we've been doing, how everything's going, and what's next. So what we decided to do was actually spend more time in Washington as sort of our first stop. And the logic for that is that there is a pass that you can get called the Discover Pass in Washington, which grants you camping access to 80 or so locations throughout the state. And I thought that would be a great way to sort of acclimate ourselves. So the first place that we stayed was Lyre River. It was quite nice. We were right next to a small creek, well, a river, but it was really more of a creek. And it was really a pleasure being there. You can stay up to a week at Lyre River. We only stayed probably 3 days, I think, in large part because it was just a bit chilly. And we were tired of the cold from being in Oregon, and tired of the wet and the cold. And so we were hoping to spend a little, I say we, like the dogs cared, right? I was hoping to spend time where it was a little warmer. So I had seen recently Eric Jacobs, Nomadic Fanatic, had highlighted a place called Martha Lake, which is more in eastern Washington, so more like the desert area of Washington. So we head out that direction. Now, Martha Lake only has a 3-day limit, but there's nothing really spectacular about it, other than really the location was terrific because it is not that far away from a rest stop where you have garbage services and you can get fresh water, but there's really no services at Martha Lake. The vault toilet there reminded me of a scene from Midnight Express, from a Turkish prison or something. It was pretty deplorable. But we stayed there for the full 3 days. And, it was nice. It was nice and warm. It was sort of the environment that we were looking for. It's really close to a highway, but the noise wasn't that bad. But it was overall great. So after our 3 days, we decided to go to another location in the area. There are a number of different free camping opportunities around George and the Quincy area in eastern Washington. And many of those are applicable to the Discover Pass. So the next place that we decided to go was the Quincy Lakes, which is just right up the road. Now, Quincy Lakes is, I think, 5 irrigation lakes, and there's camping all over the place. We stayed there up on this plateau overlooking the lake, plenty of people around camping. The noise wasn't bad at all. The weather was great. It really was a pleasure, except for the ticks. They were crazy. I was picking ticks off the dogs, probably 3 a day off of each of them. And it got really bad. But on the brighter side, it was beautiful. And we were walking down this one path and turned off the road, and there was a couple of people camping, but it just sort of opened up into this giant vista with these plateaus, and there was a lake below. It was stunning, and I had asked the people that were camping there if we could take some pictures, and they said fine. So we got some pictures and we got some video there, but it was interesting because they had said that they had pulled in couple of days beforehand during the evening, and they didn't realize what this view looked like when they first pulled in until they woke up in the morning. And what a great surprise that must have been. Anyway, so we stayed there for a few days, but the weather was supposed to get into the 90s, and we don't have air conditioning, so we decided to go to a place called Joe Watt Canyon. That was probably, I'm guessing, about an hour away, and the beauty of Joe Watt Canyon, even though there's no services, again, another Discover Pass site, is that it's about 2,400 feet in elevation. So as the 90s were hitting sort of the George area and the Quincy area, we were looking at temperatures closer to the 70s up at Joe Watt Canyon. So we went there and we stayed, 5 nights at Joe Watt Canyon, 6 nights, something like that, until we were watching the weather again, and guess what? 90s were going to hit there. And the ticks there were even worse. I mean, I think that today is the first day that we didn't find a tick. One of the nice things about being at Joe Watt Canyon, other than the cooler weather, was, the dogs had a nice place to run around. It was really, really beautiful. And I was able to take off the window panel in the van and have a nice view while I worked. And that really worked out well. I mean, sitting here on the computer, looking out my window at the Columbia Basin, I guess, on a windmill farm, it didn't suck, man. So I got a lot of work done, really happy. But it was time to move on. So our next stop was where we are now, which is just outside of Leavenworth, Washington. Now, Leavenworth is pretty cool. I didn't know this, but Leavenworth is, at least the main area of Leavenworth, is modeled after a Bavarian village. So it's all very themed. And I kind of felt like I was in Disneyland for a while. So we're just right outside of Leavenworth in a place called Airstrip Sno-Park. And this is a location that is designed primarily for winter recreation. And as a result, there's this, it's not a large parking lot, but just there's a parking lot, and then there are all of these snowmobile trails everywhere. And there's also an airstrip that is flanking us. The weather is terrific here. Now, one of the reasons I'm actually doing this update in the van tonight, though, is because we did have a bit of wind, and it would be miserable sitting outside, not necessarily because of the weather, but because of the wind and how obnoxious that would be from a production point of view. But anyway, so we're probably going to be here a few more days. So I guess that just leaves the final sort of topic, which is what next, at least location-wise. So we're going to be here in Washington for probably about another 10 days, maybe a little bit longer. This Discover Pass, like I said, is really working out well. I'm in no hurry. The weather's been great, at least, selectively. It's been nice to be able to sort of pick our weather. But ultimately what I want to do is to get into Idaho. I want to take my time there. I have no idea how long we're going to be there, but I want to get over to Glacier National Park in Montana. I want to see a damn grizzly bear. And not up close, but you know what I mean. So that is the short-term plan. The challenge that I have, though, is that I have family in Salt Lake City that I want to go see. And I also want to go to Arches National Park, and I want to hang out in Moab. But we're talking probably the absolute worst time of the year to go do that, right? So I might have to make a detour, go see family, and then get out of the heat, and then go back to wherever it is we're going. I don't know yet. So again, short term, Idaho, Glacier National Park, and we'll figure it out. I have family on the East Coast in New York and Pennsylvania and in Virginia. I want to save that for the fall, probably September, October-ish. And then beyond that, we'll see. We'll hang out in the southern states or Baja California for the winter, perhaps. But we'll see how it's going. I really have no firm plans. And that's really it. From a content perspective, I'd expect a video once a week. And I think it's probably going to take a few weeks for me to get my backlog of work done. And then I'll really start to create the content that I want to create. So I don't want to wait 3 weeks to keep everybody up to date. But yeah, it's probably going to take a few weeks, maybe upwards of a month before I'm really able to dedicate the time to the channel that I want to be able to put into it. So that's it. Anyway, thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you soon. Bye now.